All right. Good morning and happy Tuesday. At least it's morning here where we are in South Carolina. That's where we are broadcasting from this morning on our Facebook Live. We've got extra encouragement coming to you from Harvest Church on this Tuesday. And it's exciting because I have another guest with me today. And we are still continuing a discussion about missions. We've had a lot just had a lot of missions talk this summer. And today I'm excited to have Laura Long with me. Hi, Laura.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, I'm so happy that you're here. Hey, Kima. So I see we've got, so on when we broadcast through StreamYard so that we can be side by side, I don't always see as people join. I see if they make a comment on the side. So I see that Kima has joined us, and usually it takes a couple minutes for people to get a second to find us and then get on the link. So, we hold off for a minute or two before we start our discussion so that those who are joining us can hear as well. And we've got Sally Jumper on with us as well. Good morning, Sally. So glad that you could join us while we talk to Laura and talk a little bit about some ministry to Native Americans. Yes. So just while we're sitting here waiting, we're allowing people to hop on. Laura, how long have you been at Harvest Church?
So I actually came to Harvest Church in February of last year. And we joined pretty quickly. My husband and I, my husband's name is Johnny. We joined pretty quickly. We found a love here at Harvest that we just couldn't deny. And so it was very healing church, a very healing time for us. So by March, we were members, and we've been just kind of been ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. I knew that for me you were fairly new, but I wasn't sure, how new you were. So yeah, so you have just been at the church for a little over a year going on a year and a half, I guess, at this point.
Right, exactly. And I learned about it because I'd actually applied to a position in the office. And so they were like, hey, we'd really love you to check out our church, whether this goes this way or not, we still love you to be here. And so that's what we did. And that's how we found out about it. So I joined the church before I ever joined staff.
Wow. Okay. That's great. That's cool. So you are on staff at the Harvest as well.
I am. I'm Pastor Ken's assistant. And then pretty much anything that happens in the office, that would be me.
Your office.
I'm everybody's assistant.
Wow, so that really keeps you busy. Well, that's exciting. We've had a couple more people hop on with us. Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Mark Liam. Thanks so much for joining us. We are just having a short chat here with Laura so that we can allow a few others to hop on with us this Tuesday morning while we talk about missions and ministry. So, so good morning, Sharon. Thanks for joining us. So you've been at the Harvest for about a year and a half, and I think other people will join, and I'll remind them of what we're discussing. But I think we can go ahead and kind of start our discussion because you not only have been with the Harvest for a year and a half here, but you also just led one of the 3 mission trips that the Harvest was able to take this summer.
I did. I was really excited about this. So my husband and I have done missions with the Native Americans for many years, almost a decade now. I'm Native American myself. And so the team that we actually took them to my home reservation, which is in South Dakota. We were really excited about this team and what they could do. When I approached Pastor Indar and Pastor Ken about it, they were like, yeah, I guess they have a love for missions and they have a heart for the people, and they could see that I had that as well. So I was so excited to be able to get this started. This is the first time that Harvest has ever done Native American missions. And I didn't find that out until a little bit later as we got in, but it's just been a super exciting thing. A lot of people don't realize that the Native Americans are so unevangelized. They would think that they're over-evangelized, but they kind of almost live in their own little world on reservation, if they're truly on reservation. A lot of them live in poverty. They're almost like a third world country.
Wow, right. So that is definitely an important group for us to be reaching out to.
Yes, yes, it is.
And you are, being Native American and going to your home reservation, you have some familiarity there that would obviously help with the ministry.
Yes, I do. So I have relationships that we've built just individually, just getting to know people, but also because my family is there, that helps a whole lot.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
my family still lives on reservation, and I didn't mention earlier, the reservation is called Lake Traverse Reservation. It's in a little town. It's in a town called Sisseton, South Dakota. And
Okay.
most people would know this tribe as the Sioux tribe, but we are a specific dialect. So we are the D dialect. So that would be the Dakota people. And the language is the same. The Dakota just has an H on the end. The language is the same.
Okay, okay. So, what can you tell us? So, today, this morning, for those of you who are just joining us, like Peter and Nico and Miss Fredna and Shauna, good morning to all of you. We are talking to Laura this morning about a mission trip that the Harvest took to to an Indian reservation. Actually, her native. You did live on the reservation at some point?
I did as a small child. Yes, I lived on reservation. Yes.
And your mom grew up?
My mom grew up on reservation, and she went off to college. She met my father, and that was kind of it.
Wow.
They married very quickly, and so we kind of grew up like my dad was in construction, so we kind of grew up like Army brats, little bits for the first 10 years of my life until we settled in South Carolina.
Okay, right. And then you've been in South Carolina more or less ever since, as far as living.
I have. If anybody knows the Pillion area, that's where I grew up, went to school. All of my kids grew up and went to school, and I still live here today.
Okay, that's cool. So, so what do you want to tell us about the trip that you took and the ministry?
Yeah, definitely. So the main thing that I want people to know is that there is a need for that evangelism among Native Americans, and not just my tribe, but also other tribes in North America and Indigenous and First Nations in Canada. So our tribe was really concentrated in 10-day frame. We had a heavy schedule. We did do some educational learning as well. I took them to a powwow, which is the second oldest in the country. So we got to see some of the traditional dress and dances, the culture. We also took them to the Ingalls homestead. If anybody's ever heard of the Little House on the Prairie with Laura Ingalls.
Oh, yes.
If anybody's ever read those books, I read those books. But
yeah,
we took it to the homestead, and we had a great time in both, but we wanted them to see the cultural contrast, and that's part of the training that the team did. They dedicated 4 months of their lives of cross-cultural training to learn about how to say, what to say, not to say, and kind of learn how we can do that. They learned about all the different governmental hurts in the past and things that they're still suffering with and still holding on to, and just kind of how to approach things. My team is very evangelism forward, so we don't do as many humanitarian efforts. With the Native Americans, a lot of times they'll tell you, we don't need you to come in and do anything for us. We can do it for ourselves. They just want you to build relationships. So and that's what we do. We build a relationship so that way we can share the gospel of Jesus Christ. So when we went to the powwow, that was a cultural experience. We went to the Ingalls homestead as a cultural experience. So they got to see how white pioneers came in and how they interlived, with the Native Americans, because before tribal land, they were there. And when they got put onto reservation, it was a little bit more formatted on who was where. But I wanted them to kind of have that experience. But we also went out to several different districts. So there's 7 districts that are in my reservation. The one that we primarily concentrated on is called Enemy Swim. 90% of the Native Americans that are there are traditional Indian religion. which has nothing to do with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with ancestral worship,
Mm-hmm.
with nature worship, animalistic worship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really hard people group to approach when they're that traditional. So we really had to concentrate on that training. And what we did is we went into the district and we kind of held almost a block party for Jesus, is what we did. We gave out hot dogs and we talked to them. We gave out Bibles to the children. We went through the whole entire neighborhood and we just did a bunch of outreach going door to door. Some of the team had individual one-on-one conversations. We actually had a couple salvations while we were out there. And we kind of left them with an upcoming Native American leader that's there who's wanting to hold a Bible study in his home.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's being mentored by the second part of our trip, which was Dakota Sunshine. Now, Dakota Sunshine has a church, Dakota Sunshine Christian Fellowship, but they also hold a camp for the reservation kids during the summer. So we also went out there and we went out to the powwow. We gave out flyers. We did whatever we could do to let people know that we were going to hold some kids' days. So we hosted some kids' days at Camp Dakota Sunshine, and that was wonderful. We had kids that came from reservation, and they got to hear about the Lord. It was a wonderful time. One of the biggest successes that we had is we also brought Jeremy and Jocelyn Gall along with us on the team. Pastor Ken and Sally joined us as well. There were 8 of us that went. And when we brought Jeremy and Jocelyn Gall, I know that we've had them here at Harvest. We've been blessed to have them here at Harvest. They bring a hope and healing ministry. We brought that to the Native Americans for the very first time this year. And it was such a success. They really enjoyed it. It really gave them peace. It gave them hope. It gave them a sense of healing. A lot of the Native Americans deal with domestic violence. They deal with suicide. They deal with depression. They deal with dysfunctional families with different addictions, whether it be drugs, alcohol. So bringing them that hope in the Lord and allowing them to come to it on their own instead of it being forced upon them has been very healing, very healing.
Wow, that's really amazing. So, for those of you who may have just joined us, we're talking about specifically right now about a trip that Laura led, a team that she took to reservation in South Dakota. And one thing that I want to point out, and you can tell me if I'm understanding this properly, is that this trip that you took, this, whether it was 10 or 12 days, I don't remember how long it was, 10 days. It wasn't just training and a trip for those 10 days.
There's actually a lot more that comes out of this. So we have had the opportunity, my husband and we got invited to a Native Christian Leaders Conference for the mission work that we've been doing. Indian Life Ministries out of Canada invited us to be their guest. So we went to that conference in May and met many different Native Christian leaders, but also the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association was there jointly hosting. So one of the things that they're doing is they're holding a Native Peoples Tour for the very first time. They're trying to work alongside and join alongside the Native Americans. There's this awakening movement that's happening right now. It started in 2016 among the Navajo, and it's based upon a sermon that Billy Graham did in 1975 called The Sleeping Giant. If anyone listening has never heard that, please go and listen to it. In that sermon, The Sleeping Giant, Billy Graham spoke about the Native American people being the least of these, and as the least of these, they were going to be the people that would lead their own people to Christ, and then also the world. And so right now they're rallying behind that cry, and there's this awakening movement. It's more than a revival. But anyway, in that conference, we were discussing that and how they wanted to work alongside, and they were starting a Native Peoples Tour this summer. They are actually going into Rosebud Reservation and Pine Ridge Reservation. Pine Ridge is one of the most poverty-stricken reservations in the country. It's also, if you know anything about history, where Wounded Knee Massacre happened. So this is a really important moment this year My husband Johnny and I are going to be actually volunteering with them this coming weekend. We're going to be volunteering with them, and the whole point is that they can bring the gospel to the Native Americans and be able to just build those relationships year after year. So while we were at that conference, I went up to Will Graham and introduced myself, and I know that seems a little crazy. You just go up to Will Graham, the grandson of Billy Graham, but I just knew that the Lord wanted me to speak to him, so I went straight to him and introduced myself, and I was like, I really want to hear where your heart is with the Native American people, because if you're going to do this Native Peoples Tour, it's important that you continue to stick with it and build those relationships. Otherwise, you're going to have the same hurts that you've had in the past. And so he shared with me that he had the same exact heart for the Native Americans that his grandfather did, and that this was his idea to be able to do this. And I said, well, if that's the case, would you be willing to bring the Native Peoples Tour to Lake Traverse Reservation, where my people are from? And he said, well, sure, but I'd like to come with the invite. And I said, well, rightfully so. You would not come without an invite. It wouldn't do any good. He said, do you have the connections to do that? I said, the Lord has blessed me with connections over the years. Yes, we can do this. So I and Harvest Church are jointly hosting a gathering, and this is going to be on Monday, July the 25th. And we've invited everyone from Lake Traverse Reservation, whether they're pastors, whether they're missionaries on field, just the people that are part and members of the tribe. And what we're going to be discussing is bringing the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association in summer of 2023. So the team that goes next year will be part of that and working alongside them. So it's super exciting and a lot going on. There's always that next step for the Lord. So he's moving. He's just moving.
That is so exciting. So essentially, that gathering is coming up.
It is. It's coming up this weekend. So Native Peoples Tour, Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th. And then Monday the 25th will be the gathering. Yes.
So the Native Peoples Tour is going to be at other reservations?
It will be. Rosebud is on Saturday and Pine Ridge is on Sunday. And they're in South Dakota. They're just, they're toward the western side of South Dakota.
Okay. Okay. So we can be then, those who want to join and pray, be praying for those events Saturday and Sunday, and then also for the gathering on Monday.
Yes, certainly pray for the building relationships. The relationship building is the only way to bring evangelism into the Native Americans. So please pray for that. Motivations will come. The hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ, that will come. It's going to come in God's time. But to do that, we need to be a healing people instead of a people who come in and force that upon them. We're giving them the choice. The Lord has given them the choice, and that's something that they haven't had before. And so in giving them that choice, then they'll easily listen.
Right. So I see maybe a point that you might be making in that ministry to Native Americans, just like the Lord has given us free will, they need to experience that choice in that free will.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm trying to get across. Yes. And
so not being felt like this is a decision you need to make. So that kind of maybe preaching or pushing, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. Right. Yes. We just need to, the basic thing that we kind of taught my team is that, are you able to share your testimony? What does Jesus mean to you? Because that's what you're going to hear. A lot of times, especially when we went into Enemy Swim, traditional religion, they'll tell you that this is a white man's gospel. And that sounds really harsh. But that's how they see it, because churches, different denominations of churches have come in and kind of forced this on them. So they say that it's not their God, it's yours. But just being able to share your testimony and share how Jesus, how he's been in your life, how he's there still. Those kind of moments build relationship just in friendship. But it also is something that they'll listen to, and then they're like, oh, hey, I see Jesus in this person. And they say that Jesus has been there for them. They've given them hope. It's given them a different life. Maybe I want that for myself. And that is how we get into being able to evangelize. It's truly simply through relationship, which we all should have as brothers and sisters in Christ. They want to be treated as equal brothers and sisters, and that's who we are.
Right. And then you have a unique position in that you have a history of building relationship, of family, like a long history with the people in South Dakota that you minister to.
Yes, and it hasn't always been easy for myself. So my mother left reservation and she married a white man. And so I am half Native and a half white. And so that is it was a struggle at first, simply because they felt like when my mother left reservation, it was hard because they felt like she had abandoned kind of her own people. But my mother
rejection.
Right, exactly. But really, truly, she just had the love of Christ for all people. And my father is who was meant for her to be. And so I struggled growing up with that. But later on, I was able to actually use that as a healing process when I've come into missions. It's like, hey, I struggled internally with, being half white and half Native, and the Lord has been good to me. The Lord still sees me. And so just being able to use that is kind of where I kind of came into my own,
Yeah, that's amazing. And that isn't that how the Lord will work? Like some of us feel like we have situations and difficulties in our background or from our lives that are just unusable. The Lord can't use it because it's to this or that. But that may be the exact thing that the Lord uses to help you minister, to help you bring authenticity to what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really exciting. And from what you've talked about, the Lord continues to give you these connections with Will Graham and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, the pastor that is ministering up there. Is it the Dakota Sunshine?
Yes, so Dakota Sunshine has their own pastor. His name is Don Likens. His wife's name is Tina. They're originally a family from Rock Hill, South Carolina. They started off going as a mission trip to Enemy Swim, which is a district we were in, and eventually realized that the Lord was calling them to move up there and start this camp. And so they moved. Their whole entire family moved up there and they started this camp, and they really invested in the culture and the relationship, getting to learn the language. And I found out later, after we've been connected here in South Carolina, that the pastor Don actually learned the language from my grandmother.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is
one.
that's really amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. It's really exciting, all of the connections that the Lord is making. But it's also exciting for Harvest Church and those of us who are connected to Harvest Church in that we have this opportunity to make a connection. And some people maybe don't want to leave the country, but they're interested in connecting to a mission trip somehow. So this is such a wonderful opportunity for that. And so next year, the plan is there will be another trip that you will be leading.
Yes, there will be another trip. We will do this again. We will continue to do exactly what we've been doing this year, but we're going to add on an extra week to be able to work alongside the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. We're also, during the meantime, while we're waiting to get to next summer to do that, we're also going to be bringing Jeremy and Jocelyn Gall back. We're going to try to do that in a few months and bring another prayer and healing service. So that way we're not forgotten. That way they know that we're there and that we care about them. And Harvest Church has a love and a heart for the Native people.
Okay, so that's going to happen sometime in the meantime as kind of another ministry connection there to continue the ministry without waiting a whole year.
We're in the talks with them right now, trying to work out dates. And Dakota Sunshine Christian Fellowship is willing to be able to host that and help in any kind of way. And they've just been such a blessing. And they also are doing the follow-up discipleship that is needed as well while we're not there.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really exciting. So that's something really, that people can also start praying about is what their part might be, participating in this, whether it's helping someone else going, praying for these things from now till next year.
Yeah.
That is.
In prayer, I would encourage financially with our Faith Promise here at Harvest. It makes a difference for the kingdom with what we do.
That is so exciting. Yes. Thank you so much. So what else do you want to share with us? What other information, parting words, or anything related to ministry or a story, anything about this ministry?
Yeah, so one of the most rewarding things about being part of a mission team, now whether this is Native American or whether this is a mission team to Trinidad or to Kenya or to any other place that the Lord would call you to go, the most rewarding thing is being obedient to the Lord. I've had a couple of members that have been on the team who they're like, oh, I really want to go, but I feel the Lord is calling, but there's other reasons that whether it's financial or whatever their situation may be, their health. I would encourage them to continue that if the Lord leads you to be able to be on a mission trip, you should follow and see it through. The rewarding is that obedience, it strengthens your personal relationship with the Lord, but it also builds a new relationship with another brother and sister in Christ, wherever it is the Lord leads. And so I think that that's probably the biggest thing out of missions just in general. And certainly for our team, the stories that they're going to be sharing tomorrow night. Our team is going to be on the Wednesday night online, and we're going to be discussing some of those stories. So I don't want to give away too much. They all have their wonderful stories that they're going to share about how much it's meant to them and how much it's changed their personal lives and the relationships that have grown from that.
Oh, yes. That's really exciting. Yes, that's a great reminder. So tomorrow night, we would encourage all of you who hear this, whether you catch the Wednesday night Facebook Live through Harvest Church or not, we would encourage you to watch that because you're going to get to hear more about the ministry, the trips, maybe some personal stories from those who are on the trip. So that's really exciting and an exciting addition to what we're talking about this morning. So yes, thank you for reminding us of that. That is really cool. And I would agree with you so I just want to take just 1 minute to encourage those of you who are listening. What Laura was just saying is, maybe because we do have, situations, we deal with health issues, we deal with, we have maybe, these are the finances, this is what we have, but we can ask God, because he is the God who can do exceeding abundantly above all we ask or think. We can ask him. So if he's put something on your heart, don't push it down based on circumstances. Listen to what God has to say. Listen to what he is speaking to your heart and trust him that he'll bring it to pass. You can come to Laura, or I will agree with you that the Lord will make a way when there seems to be no way.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Yeah, well, that is really exciting. I'm encouraged. So I know that those that have been listening to this conversation and have listened to this will be encouraged as well. I am so thankful as part of the Harvest to be participating in this. So anyone who is part of Harvest Church, even if you've never stepped in our building, but you watch online, or you've given or prayed, whatever it might be, you have part in all of these ministry things that are happening. And it's really exciting to see what God is doing. He's doing this in Kenya. He's doing that in South Dakota. And next, we'll also hear later about what he's been doing in Trinidad. My husband right now is in Zambia. And so, we are, Harvest Church's partners is one of our partners in our ministry. And so what we're doing wherever we are, you're part of, if you're participating in this. And so it's really exciting to hear. I'm excited to hear more about what the Lord is doing in South Dakota.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. Any other parting words before we kind of close off here? Anything else that you want to share or say? Because we are.
Yes, so definitely please be praying for the gathering Monday, July the 25th. Please be in prayer about that and see what the Lord's going to lead. And if you haven't checked out our website on Harvest, they're already doing the signups for next year's mission team. So get started.
That's great. That's great. Wow. You can sign up now. And like we were saying, don't allow a circumstance to hold you back. If the Lord is speaking to your heart, like Laura was saying, be obedient to that. The Lord will be able to bless it.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll be praying for the gathering, and we can go to the-harvest.org to find the information about next year's mission trip. And we look forward to hearing more. Maybe there'll be an opportunity where we can have an update on this Facebook Live to hear, at some point in the year, instead of waiting all the way until next summer to hear more.
Definitely. I would love to do that.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you so much. Thank all of you for listening and joining us this morning. And I believe that you're encouraged by the word, by hearing what God is doing. He is stirring our hearts to reach out, to evangelize, to share Jesus with the world. And this is one of the ways that he's doing it. And it's really exciting. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. All right. We're going to say goodbye now to everyone. Thank you so much, Laura. We'll be praying.
Thank you.
Yes.
See you.
Yes. Thank you. All right.